Okay, I got a new comment, and it doesn't really matter by who. Commenter that has no videos of his own, no content, brand new account, no subscribers, no real activity on YouTube. I'm going to call it a sock puppet account, unless they want to prove otherwise by making some of their own content. However, when people come to my page, my videos, they ask me for my time, I give it to them, and then they insult me saying that I didn't answer it the way they expected the answer. Sorry, not sorry. It's what I believe. It's how I answer. If you don't like it, go somewhere else. I mean, there's plenty of other people that'll probably give you their time in exchange for an insult, but I won't. So I'm going to finish this up. I'm just going to say it once and for all. When he came here, he said this first. He says, I know I'm probably the 100th atheist to ask this, but in attempting to insult atheism by calling it a religion, you are admitting that religion is a ridiculous concept based on nothing but faith. Now, it's not what I said. But anyway, I said, David Crane, true, I believe religion is silly. And then David Crane says, and I think it's silly for someone who believes in religion is silly to support conservative, I think it's silly for someone who believes religion is silly to support conservative rhetoric. If you're rational enough to know God isn't real, then you should be rational enough to support gun control. So first of all, religion and God are not synonymous. It's just how it is. Look it up. I said conservatism has nothing to do with religion. Conservatism is in a fiscal sense, has to do with being responsible with economic plans and budgets. As for gun control, I do support gun control. The Swiss model makes a ton of sense. I made a recent video about that. And he says, okay, one more. You were arguing for the Swiss model by saying that if you take away the guns, that criminals keep them, which is a conservative argument that taking guns puts more people in danger. That is statistically false. Also, I was conservative, and I tell you that every conservative social idea comes from a dogma that stems from religion. Fighting abortion, gay rights, and evolution are all religiously driven. The gun control issue stems from their religiously driven unwillingness to accept reality, and I don't mean passionate. I mean driven by the irrationality that comes from a belief in the imaginary. How does that relate to guns? The fact is that taking guns saves a lot of lives, and only someone who denies that reality can deny that fact. Okay. I said preserving life and valuing the rights of unborn babies is not just a religious stand. I know plenty of atheists who feel the same way. I get that eugenics and such is definitely an evolutionary belief, and I see why an evolutionist would believe in abortion, but I don't, and I didn't when I was very atheistic, which was more than half of my life. Well, it's a little less now. I'm getting older, but yeah, it was good 19 years of my life that I was very atheistic, at least agnostic. Anyway, I said, as for the Swiss model of guns, I believe in embracing gun culture like they do, teaching kids to respect guns and train them to use them at an early age, which prevents accidents and unrespectful ways of thinking of guns. And the Swiss model has plenty of control mechanisms. I think they are good. Maybe a little too restrictive, but for the most part they are good. I quoted him, he said, the fact that taking guns saves a lot of lives, and only someone who denies reality can deny that fact. I said, Switzerland has the third highest ownership of guns in the world. Out of 115 countries, they are number 106 in the crime index, meaning that they have one of the lowest crime rates in the world. And if you take guns away from law-abiding citizens, then only criminals have guns. In this day and age, criminals can simply print guns at home on a 3D printer. That isn't a Christian thing, that is a common sense thing. So let's go to this. And I did make a video on the Swiss gun model just a few days ago, so I'll put these links in the description. I'm going to try not to pause this. When I pause this, it ends up leaving a big blank space in my video, so I'm just going to try to keep up with this without pausing. Sorry if the editing isn't great. I've gotten in trouble with that recently. At least people have complained. Okay, so Mr. Anonymous David Crane with no content says, Aaron Ra has gone up against Bob Ducko and Bob Enyart, among others, in a debate, and you expect people to believe he is intimidated by you? I don't know what he is. Maybe he just, I don't know, lost interest. Whatever it is, he's refusing to debate me. So, and that's a fact. I've proven that. How about instead of avoiding the debate with Aaron Ra, you do some research, get some debate practice, and actually defend your position? You won't win, but at least you will have proven you aren't completely spineless. If you had, oh, he's edited this. This isn't what I responded to earlier. This is all new. So he says, you won't win, but at least you will have proven you aren't completely spineless. If you had just said you don't want to do it, then that would be fine, but you agreed to do it and then pretended your opponent backed out. Stop making excuses and put your money where your mouth is. So that got added later. Some of that did. So David Crane, I actually recorded the whole thing, including him backing out. I'm still game. He says, and of course this one's edited too. He said, then post your recording, and while you're at it, agree on a date and time to do the debate. Very few of mine ever get edited. I don't edit my comments. I leave them. They sometimes have spelling mistakes or other mistakes, but if I need to correct them, I'll post another post. Very, very rarely do I ever edit. So Aaron Ra came and said, it was never going to be a debate. You don't have to debate someone who doesn't have any idea what they're talking about. I initially invited him to a discussion only. Now he's trying to use this to build up his channel views by calling it a debate. Hey, I've seen Aaron Ra with even other atheists, like when they talk about feminism, and he doesn't have any decorum. He starts screaming them down. So I called it into a formal debate so that we could actually have a discussion without him, interrupting or screaming down or, changing things in a way that, it diverts the conversation. Like, if we can have some sort of rules and decorum, then I would be happy to. And I asked him for a good 2 months what it was going to be. And he never said it was just going to be some sort of interview. He said, let's have a chat. And once he called it a debate, and I've called it a debate ever since December. And so the whole time I thought it was a debate. And I just asked him, what kind of format? And he never answered. Never answered until after he backed out of the debate or whatever we were going to have. And I've proved that. I mean, I've got a whole playlist on this. I'll put that playlist in the description. Anyway, I said, David Crane, I've got a whole playlist documenting it. And I set a date and time 3 times. I recorded it. I recorded me inviting him to Google Hangouts and waiting for him to show up for 17 hours while I repaired my computer. In December, I recorded where I left him a comment on his video saying that I would be available on and any time after January 12th. He said he didn't lock into since he didn't lock into any of those dates, I told him that he needs to set it up. That is when he declined to do the debate. And then I showed him the playlist. So then Aaron, this is one that I didn't see. Of course, this one's edited too. I'm telling you, I got these in my email. When they reply, these come to my email, so I can actually figure out exactly what they originally said. But it's no biggie. I mean, I'll reply, and they can change their comments if they want. He says, when he said he agreed to a date and time 3 times, he means that he repeated 3 times that he would do it right now. After I already told him that right now is not setting a date and time because I can't schedule the hangout that way. But he set and posted on my video 14 times that I counted. One was still in the comment jail because it looked like spam to Google, so I had to pull it out of content jail. So I thought it was only 13, but after all, it was 14 times. Plus, during that time, he wrote a 6,000-word write-up on Pathos directed at me, an open letter to me. And so I was like, hey, if you got all this time to write and you're spending all this time on your computer anyway, let's just have a live chat. And he declined. He said anytime, that's what he said. I've got that recorded. But anytime didn't mean anytime. It just meant some random time. I don't know when. He wouldn't set it up. Anyway, I said, Aaron Ra, yes, when you made 6 comments in 3 days saying, quote, let's do the debate anytime you want, then yes, I said, okay, let's do it today. And despite going back and forth all day with you, leaving 13 long-winded comments and one near 6,000-word post to me on Pathos, I kept saying, I'm here waiting. And at the end, I had documented the time I went to your video in December, accepting your offer and giving you a date of January 12th or any time after. And after you declined, I gave you one more open-ended offer where you named the time and date. So this guy says, Aaron, is this guy a troll? I'm seriously asking because he responds by saying he thinks religion is silly after calling atheism a religion. What? The only alternative to religion is atheism. Only if you think religion means theism, which it doesn't. Theism means theism. Religion is something different. So I said, David Crane, religion doesn't equal theism. There are many types of religion defined in the dictionary and in the law. Atheism is one of those definitions. My faith tradition has no religious ceremonies or beliefs. It's just about seeking knowledge. I wrote about it here and made this video about it. I said, by the way, David, I don't know anything about you. You have a new YouTube account, no content of your own, and you are coming to my videos talking about trolling? And then I put right here, Aaron Ra, his last decline captured on video. So it's not me backing out. I'm still, hey, let's do this, but we got to have a little rules and some decorum. I mean, I'm not just going to have you screaming at me. So if you want to do this, let's do it on Blog Talk Radio. I've got a moderator set up. He's an atheist, and we can have a 2-hour debate. I'm not just going to listen to you scream at me, but if you want to have a debate and have some decorum, I'm game. I'll set it all up. You just name a time. I'm ready when you are. The only times that I gave that I wasn't available was the 12th and the 22nd. That's when I'm traveling. Any other time is fine. And I said I'd give you up till the 24th to make a decision, so I'm not going to wait forever for this debate. I mean, you've got till the 24th of February. Today is like, what, the 19th? So still got 5 more days. Anyway. I didn't see this one from David Crane. Oh, I see. It's because he's edited it. He says, I've had this account for months and uploaded several gameplay videos. I was watching your video. It seems you call people trolls to shut them down and excuse deleting their comments. Basically, if you believe Jesus is the Son of God or rose from the dead, you're Christian or you are Islamic. You can't take so many aspects from a religion and just say religion is ridiculous without contradiction. I have watched the whole thing. I'm not sure exactly what you believe yet, but you seem to mention Judeo-Christian stuff. Okay, so he says, I finished your video. This is more like a semantics argument. A lot of Christians say Christianity is not a religion, and the facts are if it's not a religion, then nothing is. You say you have unorganized beliefs, which I took as either believe in a mixture of Hindu, Mormon, and Christian, or believe in the Dead Sea Scrolls over everything else. You say it's not a religion, yet I call it a la carte religion and or Christianity. The Gnostics are basically a Christian sect. Since you use the dictionary, I'd like to argue that... Since you use the dictionary to argue, I'd like to point out that on the very same page that you use in your video, it says on line 1 that Gnosticism was a religion. Also, religion is defined as a belief in and worship of God. Are you really going to tell me that despite praying to your God, you don't worship him in any way? I don't see order in the universe. I see a universe that is 90% hostile to life and a world that has horrific diseases and natural disasters. Life, both large and microscopic, contains some of the nastiest creatures imaginable. What kind of God creates monstrosities at the bottom of the ocean? I think when scientists who are smarter than I could ever be explained exactly how life emerged, they have a point. Just because there is something science can't explain doesn't prove there is a God. It just means that we haven't figured it out yet. You say you know there is a creator. I say you can't know that. Without evidence, there is no reason to believe there is an all-powerful God pulling the strings. The one thing you can know for sure is that scientists are right and life evolved from natural processes. The world would look just like it does, unjust, hostile, and chaotic. I say I know at very least that an all-loving God, that an all-loving and all-powerful God does not exist. I said to him in response, what I can say that to me, and of course in many passages of the dictionary, religion means a system and or an organization of beliefs. I do not believe in a system or organization of beliefs, so I feel like my spiritual self exists outside of any religion. I wrote a bit about how atheism is in fact a religion, both legally and linguistically years ago, reference to my xcannabis.net article on militant atheism. And then I wrote on religion. This is from about.com. It references the Third International Dictionary, Webster's Third International Dictionary from 1971. And this is on the page for atheism. If you go to atheism.about.com, you'll see these references from Webster's. And it's noting, and this fits into those atheistic beliefs and systems, memberships to atheist causes and atheist groups and all that. I mean, that's all religious. So 7, a cause, principle, system of tenets held with a door, devotion, conscientiousness and faith, a value held to be of supreme importance. And 7b, this is the one that really defines atheism well, a quality, condition, custom, or thing inspiring zealous devotion, conscientious maintenance, and cherishing. It's what Aaron Ra treats atheism like. So in the Oxford's Advanced Learner's Dictionary, atheism is even defined as a religion. To become a believer, an atheist, an agnostic, a Christian, Muslim, Hindu, Buddhist, etc. So he might have mistaken Gnostic for agnostic, but anyway, that's what it says, is agnostic. It is notable that many atheists and many Christians share something else in common. Atheism and Christianity are considered a religion in the U.S. courts. That's with the Seventh Circuit Court from 2010. I said, as for what Gnostics are or are not, or what they were, I wrote up an article about that here. While they may have had some structure or organization in the past, I am not bound to that. Even if they still had such a thing, I believe in the pursuit of knowledge. I do not buy into the Bible is 100% ideology. I take truth wherever I find it. As for how we can or cannot believe in a creator, I suggest there is plenty more evidence for a creator than for such silly theories as abiogenesis. So as I said in my video, you do you and I'll do me, peace. He says, a set of beliefs referred to as a belief system, whether you belong to a church or not, again, you are arguing semantics. If you have evidence for a creator God, then publish it and get rich. Well, there's already peer-reviewed research on it. You look up Stephen C. Meyer and the signature of a cell. That's been peer-reviewed by the Smithsonian and a bunch of other journals. So I don't have to do that. It's already been done. William Dembski has some work on that too. He says, again, you are arguing semantics. I'm sorry. Got past that already. Then again, we both know your evidence isn't scientifically sound in any way, shape, or form. By saying peace, I assume you're not going to respond. That is fine. That is the way you debate, is you try to change the subject by arguing that words have different meanings than they really do. Actually, if you look up Aaron Ra versus John Mark Reynolds, that's what he does. And then he backs himself into a corner and forgets what he was even talking about. I mean, and then when, like John Mark Reynolds was like, no, we agree. I think that, your definition and my definition, I can accept that. That's what you believe, I believe. And then Aaron Ra's like, no, no, I don't think we do. Anyway, no, whatever. If it's going to be like that, then, that's why we need a moderator, because I think that's ridiculous. Anyway, let's see. He says, I argue using facts, information, and that is scientifically sound. Most people can see right through your tactic. There are very few apologist arguments that I haven't heard, but you don't even use them. Why would I? I'm not that kind of Christian. You just try to find some cheap way to respond. If you do that debate with him, you're going to have to try a little harder than that. I'm done for now. I have stuff to do. And then he responded just a minute ago after that about guns. Anyway, I said, there's an atheist blogger named Godless Cranium that can give you some insight into, quote, things atheists say that make theists tune out. When you ask questions and I answer with no obligation to, you are asking for my time and I am giving it. Then you throw insults at me, accusing me of changing the topic by saying, quote, this is fine, as the way you debate is you try to change the subject by arguing words that have different meanings than they really do. That's Aaron Ra with feminism. That's Aaron Ra with John Mark Reynolds. That's Aaron Ra with Eric Hovind. That's how he rolls. So sometimes I have to, go to the dictionary and make sure we're clear on what we're talking about. But that's because Aaron Ra insists that much. I mean, and others that want to play word salad games. Anyway, I'm fine with that. If we want to define it one way or the other, then we've got to stick to that. That's got to be the rule of law. Or if he's going to change it up and be like, no, I don't believe the dictionary. Well, what is it? Do you believe the dictionary or do you not believe in the dictionary? Because it seems like when he's talking about feminism, he's like, that's the only way to define it. That's the only entry in the dictionary. We can't define feminism any other way. That's the only way. So he gets all religious with the dictionary, like that's the truth, that's the way, that's the only way. But then when it's like something with religion, he's like, oh no, I don't agree with that. The dictionary's wrong about that. I mean, that's word salad. He says, I am simply telling you, I say to him, sorry, this is me. I am simply telling you what religion means, both linguistically and legally. You tell me that atheism can't be religion. I tell you that despite whether you or Aaron Ra or any number of other people agree, that it is common knowledge and commonly accepted terminology that atheism can mean religion, both by definition of religion in the dictionary and by the rulings in the U.S. court. Now, when you say that you disagree, well, I am saying that I also disagree that my faith tradition is religion. So we agree that despite that definitions say one thing, that we do not agree that applies to our particular way of being. You believe atheism is not a religion. The courts and the dictionaries disagree. I believe my faith tradition is not a religion, and some dictionaries would disagree with that too. So what? We are going to argue about our own personal opinions? If we are going to go by the well-accepted definitions, then yes, my faith tradition would be considered a religion in the loosest sense, but in the same way, so would atheism. I quote him, he says, you just try to find some cheap way to respond. If you do the debate with him, you're going to have to try a little harder than that. And I responded, I said, the things that Aaron Ra comes at me with is a recycled argument that he uses with people who belong to churches and have rituals and organized tenets of belief. When he uses those arguments with me, he's not arguing against me. He's arguing against the same ways he argues with people that have nothing to do with me. When it comes to my beliefs and my faith tradition, he can argue against my beliefs, or he can be corrected when he tries to argue the same old arguments that he always uses. So if he wants to argue against the flood, I don't buy into the biblical version. If he wants to argue about the deity of Christ, I don't buy into the biblical version. If he wants to argue about the laws of Moses, I don't buy those doctrines came from the Creator. I believe they came from Moses. And I made a video in 2010 addressing that. When he wants to argue that abiogenesis is the origin of life, he is going to need some actual proof of that. So the reason why I point to the Gnostics is that when I say I don't believe in the biblical version of the flood, I don't believe in the biblical version of the deity of Christ, I don't believe, this and that. Well, the Gnostics and I are in agreement with a lot of that stuff, with the deity of Christ, even with the origins of like who Jehovah is, what he is. Like they don't believe that he is the almighty creator. He is like a demigod or something, but not the creator of all. And so there's a lot of things that I find a lot of truth in their teachings. Now, I'm not convinced and sold that that's the only way it can be. I mean, like I've said in my other videos, I believe there's different faiths, but one God, and they all are teaching of that one God in different ways. Now, when God came down, the Creator came down or whatever, or influenced these people, he seemed to do it in a very familiar way. Like most of them teach basically the same thing with some variations. But these are people with small, mortal minds in a, rough, rustic type of situation without a lot of technology or knowledge. And they're getting these, secrets of the universe. And they're trying to relay them to people who are probably even less sophisticated than them. And maybe they got some things wrong. I don't condemn them for that. And I don't hold it against them for that. I think they did the best they could. But I do think the Catholic Church, Catholicism screwed the Bible up in the Nicene Creed. I absolutely do not believe what we have in the King James Version is legitimate. So, and I have proof of that. So we can argue one way or the other whether the Bible says this and whether it's true or not, but that's not my point. That's not my position. So if Aaron Ra's coming at me with, oh yeah, well you need to prove the flood, and you need to prove Jesus rose from the dead, and you need to prove that, that's not what I believe. I believe in a tradition that's older than what we have in the Bible. The manuscripts of the Gnostics predate the Bible. In fact, I'll go to my article that I wrote about this at Medium, and it goes into this pretty good. You know, it's pretty comprehensive. I think this is one of my better articles, actually. Now, I sourced a lot of it from a lot of different sources, and I wanted to get it fairly accurate, so all of my sources are contained in the church. But my article is titled "The First Church is a Historical Taboo." Now, see, in a recent social media discussion with both a large group of atheists and theists, the topic of church miracles entered the picture. The it's supposed to be biblical. I should have proofread this better, sorry. The biblical miracles were the specific target of the conversation. However, other miracles and events that are difficult to believe from historical writings became very tenuous topic for our conversation. So this is the thing, like when they come at me with, oh yeah, do you believe these miracles? Jesus did this, Jesus did that. First of all, I don't know. And from what I've read from the first church, I don't believe it. I don't believe in a lot of that. So no, you can argue these things with me, but you're not arguing my beliefs. You're arguing somebody else's beliefs. I'm not going to sit there and defend somebody else's beliefs. Anyway, so I got into, the history of the Gnostics, what happened with the Gnostics, other groups of Gnostics that came up. I can't pronounce these, sorry. Manichaeans, Cathars, Templars, Mandeans are groups throughout history that had Gnostic-like beliefs and appeared to borrow from Gnostic knowledge, and traditions. Anyway, so I finished up and I said, in summary, the oldest known manuscripts from the New Testament defy most doctrines and contradict most writings that were compiled by the Catholic creeds in the 4th century, from denying the deity of Christ to having a completely different view of Jehovah and the means of salvation. I am not as familiar as I would like to be on this matter, so I will not comment on the doctrinal implications of these manuscripts. However, 2 very important manuscripts that were found in this archive were the Gospel of Thomas, that deals with Christ's divinity, and the Gospel of Mary that elevates Mary Magdalene, which appears to elevate Mary as an apostle herself and one of the most trusted associates of Jesus of Nazareth. I have included the links to my sources in the above, from this article in the text above. So I wrote that, what is it, today, the 19th? I wrote that a couple days ago. So yeah, I mean, that's my view on it. So if you want to argue with me on my beliefs and my knowledge on what I believe is true, or argue with somebody else. But if you're going to take arguments that somebody else believes and try to apply them to me and make me defend those beliefs, well, I'm not going to defend something I don't believe. So I'm not going to take a Protestant or Catholic position and say, okay, well, this is how it is, and I'm going to defend this, because that's not my belief system. Why would I do that? Anyway, peace out.